Thank you so much for staying with us on The Explainer, and it's our time now to have a conversation about the budget 2025-2026 and the finance bill that has just been introduced in the National Assembly after the deadline that was the 30th of April for the budget estimates. And we'll be talking about that and also understanding the process of budget making. Like I told you, we have here with us the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning, Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi. Good evening.
Good evening.
And of course, we have these other representatives. We have Honorable Yusuf Adan Haji, who is the chairperson of the National Cohesion and Equality Opportunity Committee. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
And joining us also this evening is Alan Chacha from Universities and Colleges Student Peace Association of Kenya. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
And I also have the Executive Director from the Interreligious Council of Kenya, Linus Ntigai. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah.
Great. So, Waziri, let's start off because we want to understand first, when you're talking about the budget of 2025-2026.
All right. Let me have the mic.
All right, thank you for your question. There's a gentleman here.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Ndungu Mirii. I'm a university graduate on matters economics, finance, and accounting. And my question goes direct to the CS Treasury. I think these people are, or Kenyan, they are sparing you. Let me ask you a heavier question, because 12 trillion Kenya shillings that we are facing is not a simple question. My question goes like this. I will read it so that you can light it, because I want to take the shortest time possible. Number one, even as we have discussed this, I would like Kenyans to ask themselves whether what we are discussing here is within the Constitution, because Article 221, the budget shall contain estimate of revenue and expenditure. So the budget we are talking about here must have contained the revenues, which I'm getting that you are going around. You do not want to explain how much exactly, because the Constitution says the budget shall. So I want the CS to answer my question like this. Yes, and the question goes like this, so that I take that second. There is the four CRABs financiers, which is the Paris CRAB, which contain IMF, World Bank, bilateral, which give bilateral and multilateral loans. We have the Chinese CRAB, who are in the expenditure of our budget estimate. We have the London CRAB, which give us the Eurobond, the syndicated loans, the Citibank, Standard Chartered, Trade Development Bank. And the other CRAB is Chinese CRAB, and we have domestic CRAB. So my question is, CS, now that you have the finance bill, the finance budget, the budget for 2025-2026, you know, if you look on March, the Parliament revised our debt payment upward from 1.8 trillion to 2.04 trillion. And it revised down the revenue estimate to 2.7, and now it is 2.58. That means the estimated the revised debt payment and revenue estimate means that the revenue the debt payment is collecting about 79%, which is 80% of our revenue go to debt payment. Now you have given us a budget estimate of 4.3 trillion. If you look at on our Constitution, it says in PFM Act 2012, Section 15(2), that every borrowing must be of development expenditure. So if you have this estimate, the question is, how will you budget this budget if the Constitution does not allow you to borrow any money that is not for development? If the debt payment estimate for this year is 2.2 trillion and the actual tax revenue, which you realize even this year, 2024-2025, is around 2.2 trillion. But you'll judge me when you finalize with your account. So how will you finance the 4.3 trillion without borrowing money that will go to the current expenditure, which is against our Constitution that we promulgated in 2010?
All right, your question is very clear. Jimmy.
Let me move quickly to go to the tough questions, as Ndungu had put it. And now, there was a question on how to address equity. I think that I will maybe close with. How shall we? He said that this is unconstitutional. Ndungu, I want to persuade you. There is nothing unconstitutional about what we took to Parliament. that Article 211, we have complied with it fully. Estimates of revenue and expenditure were tabled, not just expenditure. Go and check the documents, both revenue and expenditure. And the revenue, we are projecting total revenue collection of 4,239,000,000. That is expenditure, sorry. The total revenue in terms of ordinary revenue is, let me just give you the figures so that you may know that Sam, I hope I'm not taking your time.
It's okay, you can find it.
Yeah, it's here. So, in terms of expenditure, the total is 4,239,000,000,000. In terms of revenue, it is 3,316,000,000,000. And that 3,316,000,000,000 is composed of 2,756,000,000,000 for ordinary revenue and 559 billion for other, what we call appropriation in aid, or other non-tax revenue. Then there is 46.9 billion grant. Then, now we have net foreign financing, and that I will address your second question, of 284 billion, and net domestic financing of 591 billion. You are asking that the total debt is about 80%. That is not correct. There is what we call the net financing. There are others which are rollovers. So when you roll over, you are not taking debt to pay recurrent. You are just rolling over a debt. I hope that that clarifies it. We are rolling over the debt, so that does not violate that principle. But the net domestic debt and net foreign debts are within the allowable provisions. Now, you asked about the clubs. I think what you meant is simply multilaterals. You've talked about World Bank, IMF, African Development Bank, and OPEC. Then you have bilaterals led by China. I don't know whether that is the one you call the China Club. China is the biggest, but there are others like Japan, like Italy, etc. Those are bilaterals. Then now you come to what we call the commercial debts. The commercial debts that includes now the Eurobond. There is a Panda bond we can get. Now, recently we took from UAE. That's a commercial debt. And then finally we have the local or domestic debt. All this, you must balance it in a way that respect the fiscal deficit, the fiscal framework, and also that would help you grow the economy and not to crowd out the private sector. So we are very balanced in the way we mix this budget, the debt mix, because you have to weigh the risks. Each of these debts has a risk component. If you go external, which is dollar calibrated or in foreign currency, the moment something happens to your currency, like it happened recently, then the debt shoots immediately. Remember, by shilling appreciating from 159 to about 129, we reduced our external debt from 6 trillion to 5 trillion without paying. If the reverse happens, it is disastrous. So you need, as you go for external, you must also balance it with domestic. But domestic also, if you go too much domestic, then you crowd out the private sector. Now that is where you now need brains. You need people who would now manage the mix in a way that does not hurt the economy. And that is exactly what National Treasury is presently doing. We are trying to manage, and even manage liability. Like what happened last year would have not happened if those who were in office then had foreseen that there was a time that would come to pay Eurobond, and we should not give a signal that we are not able to pay that Eurobond, which sent a wrong signal to the economy, and that almost crashed our shilling. That is why recently, in March, we decided to liability manage a debt that is maturing in 2027. We paid it this year. Why? Not because we had so much money, but we were being proactive enough to avoid causing economic disaster going forward.
Sorry, did you say that you're not borrowing to pay recurrent expenditure?
No, we are not borrowing to pay recurrent expenditure. Where are you getting that?
How much borrowing will you do in 2025-2026 in total?
The total borrowing will come to about 284 plus 591. That takes you to 870,
thereabout?
Yes.
How much is the development expenditure?
It's 700 and some amounts.
It's less than your borrowing?
Yes.
So where
but remember, we are transferring money to counties, which also has development budgets. That is what many people don't talk about. So in totality, development budget is covered by our borrowing.
Okay, all right. Very interesting answer there.